Yes, hi, hello, welcome back to Gooncast. I'm James, also known as Saber0307, and I'm once again joined by Kat and Lee, and we're here to talk about a bunch of stupid shit and also something we hate.
What's up, everybody? I'm Kat, aka the Attack Cat on Twitch. Dialogue designer by day, writer / horror artist by night. Lee.
And it's your boy Lee Alder, the Valley Jester, horror and fantasy writer, and I'm in major need of therapy after
I'm dead inside.
After this last week.
You are a stronger man than I, though.
Look, we'll delve into my unresolved emotional conflicts later in the podcast. Because to quote St. Carlin, I don't have pet peeves. I have major psychotic fucking hatreds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll get to it.
Well, to quote, something else, evil dies tonight again?
Oh, yeah, you know what? As many times as we've started to drop that line on this podcast, you have no idea, folks, how frighteningly relevant it is today.
And to quote Lee during the thing we're going to be talking about, evil rolls tonight.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So, yeah, well, it's probably in the title, but folks, we'll get to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 a little later in the podcast.
We sure will.
We need to get some good things out of the way before I have an aneurysm.
Yes. We're gonna. So it's been a bit of a hiatus. We kind of had to take a little bit of a break after the Silent Hill podcast, because I was feeling a little burnt out with our pacing. And also we had a bunch of life stuff, good and bad, kind of come up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how much we want to get into any of it, but
it's nothing wrong with pulling back the curtain a tiny little bit. So I moved, which is always a gigantic pain in the ass. We all had to deal with that.
Absolutely, no one faults you for that.
But I'm settled in the new place and it's great so far. It's a nice little change of pace. Yeah. And I left my job and I went back to school for addiction studies to be a recovery counselor, which is going to be fucking great. So after Silent Hill, we needed to take a little breather and let some real life stuff happen for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think I had some things I stated in that podcast that were factually incorrect, and I apologize. I'm not going to rehash them all. Y'all who have watched it probably already know what I'm talking about, so my bad.
It happens to the best of us.
We never claim to bring accurate information on this.
We're literally we call ourselves Gooncast and Hack Frauds, so I'm just living up to the title, really.
There you go.
Staying on brand.
Yeah, but to keep things moving along, let's get started with some good things. We in the downtime, like when between Lee's move and when we actually had time, we did end up getting a few watch parties in, and specifically they were watch parties of things that like we really wanted to see but didn't quite have the podcast drive to see it. Like Twin Peaks was very much one where James wanted to get our feedback on it, wanted to get like opinions and get talking about it. But these were movies that like we all were kind of like, they're really good, and we watched them and we were like, yeah, they're really good. So we're not gonna have a ton to talk about with them, but we do kind of want to like share our thoughts and vibes with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, James, you wanna start us off, because I think this is this is the spicy one that you
the first
recommended.
One is One Cut of the Dead, which I had heard about for a while, just things online, speaking of which, there's going to be spoilers for fucking everything like normal, so blah, blah, blah.
I was just about to say, I think we should definitely say spoilers.
Yeah, this one, if you have any interest in watching a very niche, low-budget, but incredibly inventive zombie film, go watch One Cut of the Dead.
And before you cut away, we will say spoilers before we start talking about it. But I actually have a fundamental disagreement with these two about. I think I would have actually enjoyed the movie more had I had a little tiny bit spoiled for me. So, you know, if you're able to kind of like learn a tiny bit about it, I would recommend do so. I think the other two both say no.
Yeah, for me, I prefer the blind.
Yeah, James very much, when he was recommending this movie to us, said, don't know a thing about it. Don't learn anything about it. Don't read about it. Don't look at IMDb. Don't do anything. Just watch it. And I genuinely almost turned the movie off. I was so unhappy with it.
Yeah,
initially
not to be that guy, but I'm gonna kind of land in the middle. It's the kind of movie that I have recommended it to people. I had couple horror fanatics in my family give it a shot. And
nice.
I gave them a buffer. I said, bear with it.
Okay.
Which is enough to let them know something is shaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that is the key. So okay, so from now on, spoilers. Yeah. Cut away if you don't want. You know, we'll. I guess maybe we'll put timestamp for when to come back.
Yeah.
Fuck them. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, there you go. So basically, it's sort of a low budget zombie movie that is kind of quasi framed initially as found footage, even though it's kind of also not. It's weird.
There is a camera person. They're not treated as a person. They're treated as a lens, which was part of what kind of initially rocked me a little bit, because I was like, okay, I feel like there's a twist coming, and I feel like the twist is this is all fake, right? Yeah. Which is the twist. But it's not the real twist of the movie, because the real twist is the genre flip that happens, where it becomes almost like a workplace comedy.
Yes.
And you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like the first 45 minutes, the entire first act of this movie is basically this low budget quasi found footage zombie movie with pretty bad acting. It's either over the top or stiff, and just something feels off.
There are these really weird, like, awkward beats where characters just pause for a really long time, and you're like, this is really incompetent. What the heck is going on here?
Yes. And then it cuts to, like, 1 month earlier, and we find that, there's some horror network, and they're hiring this director to do a zombie movie, but it's live. Like he's got to record it for live TV, and the entire thing is going to be in the moment, and the entire thing is just, the next chunk of the movie or so is just like casting everybody and writing the script and getting everything all together for the film production. And then the last chunk of the movie is the chaotic insanity of trying to film this piece of shit where everything that could go wrong does go wrong, but they still have to try to work through it. Yeah. Which is like why there are all these weird long pauses, and like why everybody seems super uncomfortable, because shit's going off script.
Yes, and you're seeing things off screen in the final act of the movie. So genuinely, the first 40 minutes are the setup to this absolutely brilliant punchline in the third act.
Yes.
And that, I feel like, had I known that going in, I would have enjoyed those first 40 minutes a lot more. I almost want to, I haven't yet, just because I've been busy with other things, but I do want to rewatch it with the knowledge that this is all a setup, because I feel like I will get so much more out of that initial 40 minutes. Because genuinely went into this thinking, I've heard this is a really good found footage movie. I've heard it kind of has a twist to it. Let's see.
You went in expecting wreck and got that.
Yes, exactly.
You went in expecting wreck and got something worse than Grave Encounters too.
Well, yeah, I was genuinely like, James, how is this your favorite movie of all time? Like, this is worse than Grave Encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, James, I know you like schlock, but what the fuck?
I actually texted him because I watched this at like 7 a.m. or something like that, and I actually texted him to wake him up being like, so does it get good after the 40-minute mark? Or, because he texted us being like, I'm 40 minutes in and this is my favorite movie of the year already. Yeah. And I was just like, damn, okay. And then, I watched those 40 minutes just being like, James, what the fuck?
I was towed through it by almost this like morbid fascination of like there has to be something more to this because otherwise I really don't get it. Like,
yes.
an example I can give for people who haven't seen it, like when he says that the production is going off the rails and everything, like cast members are doing things that don't make sense, and then in the third act you find out like it's because they're going off script or all these other things happening.
Shit-faced.
That's who I'm getting at. There is one guy playing a zombie who every time he's on camera is falling over and doing exaggerated kung fu moves, and I'm watching this on the first run through act 1 when I think this is still trying to be serious, going what in the fuck is James having me like this is dreadful. But I was towed along by that little nagging feeling in the back of my mind going this has to be going somewhere. And then you find out that actor behind the scenes is shit-faced.
Yes.
And like there are people holding him up and making him like
the director will literally be behind a door, like putting him up against a window.
Yeah.
And that's why it looks stupid.
or that one sequence towards the end of the first 40 minutes where it keeps cutting the woman screaming, and then it cuts back, and it cuts to the woman screaming. And it's all because her over method acting mom is going haywire.
Yes. Oh my God. Where she just gets way too and they were like, "Oh, she can't act anymore because she got way too into her roles." And then they were like, "Well, we need an actor and she knows the script." And then it's like, "Oh no, she's way too into the role."
Yeah.
And she's literally like kung fu kicking like roundhouse kicking zombies in the face.
Oh, she's raking in lawsuits.
Left and right. And also, they have to like knock her unconscious.
And also
like the two stars of the film are like one's a very top tier actor and one's a pop idol who's getting her big like movie break.
Yep.
And like you're just physically assaulting these A-listers.
And like the top tier actor is such a smug piece of shit.
Oh God, he's such an asshole. And then there's that moment where the director like freaks out at them and like it feels very weird in the initial 40 minutes because it's like, whoa, I'm not getting that at all from this character. And then you're like, oh, because he's actually talking to the actor. Yeah. And I will say that I did initially pick up on I realize this is all fake when I noticed that like after that very first scene where the actress is getting like run down by her boyfriend who's now a zombie, right? That first shot, when she dips back to like when she cuts away, like camera cuts, quote unquote cuts, and it cuts back to her. She felt like she was still acting to me. It felt like that like actors acting where it's like there's still a layer of fakeness here where she's acting like she's acting like a bad actor, but she's actually a better actor. And then it turned out to be like an extra layer of like, oh, she's also this like other actor who's acting as an actor. It's this is how you do meta right, folks.
And at least for me too, one of the things that I was genuinely surprised about was how uplifting the ending was with that final shot where the crane is broken. God. And they have to make this human fucking pyramid. They make the human
pyramid.
And I just had this big dumb fucking smile on my face as I'm seeing them make this stupid human pyramid just so they could have the crane shot of the woman during the credits.
I then apologized to James, but also said, fuck you for not like cluing me in a little bit more that it was this brilliant by the end.
If you've already listened to this section of the podcast and haven't seen it, you know what you're getting yourself into, and it's absolutely worth your time. It's on Shudder, which is a cheap as fuck subscription. If you're a horror fan, you should have it already.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
It's a ride. It's an absolute ride.
We were initially going to talk about this on the Silent Hill episode until we had the discussion of how our differences on how much knowledge you should have going in, and Lee hadn't seen it yet, and we're like, hey, let's make this a full episode, and we'll discuss it, and we could pair it with something, and that something wound up being Train to Busan. which, as it turned out, Kat and I hadn't seen, but Lee had, which is something we've been waiting a year for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not the flick, seamless transition. It was not the flick that I had anticipated to use for that slot, because we were, we were wanting to follow through on the triad of one of us showing the other two something that they hadn't seen before. So James showed us Twin Peaks, Kat showed us Erased. And I was really racking my brain, and I had found a couple that like one of them hadn't seen. I'm like, shit. And then without even trying, Train to Busan came up. And you just both were kind of like, oh yeah, no, I never saw that one. And I'm like, oh yeah. Okay, let's do it. So I'm a gigantic fan of the zombie subgenre. My mom's favorite film of all time is the original Night of the Living Dead. So she raised me in a very pro-zombie household. We went to Fangoria one year, where the like headliner doing an autograph session was George Romero before he passed away. And my mom was like giving me shit. She's like, I went up and shook his hand, said, it's an honor to meet you, got his autograph. Like made a joke with my mom about like we could tell what brand of whiskey he liked because George was having a fun weekend. And we walk away, and my mom's like, it's an honor to you didn't meet the fucking Pope. And I'm like, well, I kind of did though. And so yeah, I'm always looking for interesting and unique takes on that genre, because as much as I love them, yes, they're a very formulaic by the numbers antagonist. They are, they're the living
You can have
dead.
your twists on them, but
sure, but at the end of the day, they're shambling corpses that want to bite you.
Exactly.
So when something like Wreck, like I mentioned earlier, comes along that does something different, where Wreck was a take on zombies, but they're actually like under a form of possession or quarantine, for the American remake made it rabies.
And on the rabies train, 28 days later,
fucking rage virus, absolutely. 28 days is such a great fucking movie. So I like when new and unique takes are done, and I'm not a huge fan of the running zombies, but there's a few exceptions, like the Dawn of the Dead remake that Snyder did is fucking excellent.
These were like,
and then there's this
JoJo pose zombies.
These were JoJo zombies. That was the first thing I said going in was, the only thing I want you two to keep an eye open for is the unnatural movements of the ghouls, which
I really liked. I commented on it while we were watching it, that I was just like, this is really cool looking. And I've heard from other people, other horror fans, that is kind of a staple in Korean zombie movies.
Yes,
that kind of is, and I don't know if Busan started the trend or is just following it and just a really good example of it. But I was like, damn, that's it. Because after we watched Train to Busan, I also started watching, which I haven't finished yet actually, but there's a Netflix Korean zombie show.
Oh, is it All of Us Are Dead?
Yes, it's
I
the one
will
that
be
starts in the high school.
I'll talk about that a little later when we're wrapping up our weeks. I have finished that series.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I've only watched the first episode, but I noticed that the zombie movement is very similar to Train to Busan, and I was like, I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah, it feels very Busan. But yeah, so Train to Busan, it tells you exactly what it is. There's a train, there's zombies, and it's heading towards Busan.
Yeah, it's a classier, more zombified version of Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah, Korean. I mean...
yes. Very true.
It's a very accurate title.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of like action movie beats, like Snakes on a Plane, where it's like, oh no, we get separated, there's a train car of zombies, we have to figure out how to get through the train car of zombies to rescue the people in the back. Yeah. Like that kind of, those beats are hit and stuff like that. And you also have a lot of like, it's not for the zombie genre. It's not like it's doing anything like insanely groundbreaking. Like you have the moment of somebody can't keep up, like like the two sisters, right? The one sister gets bit and she's just like, okay, bye, you know, like I'm
Yeah.
dead now, and it's this like tragic moment, and then you have the
Korean kendo?
The Korean yes,
Yeah.
the Korean kendo. You
Best
have
character in the
I'll talk
fucking
about
movie.
him.
You have
I'll
the
talk about
stowaway who ends up like valiantly sacrificing himself for the main character and his daughter.
Dickhead businessman.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of very like, you know, I've seen this before in a zombie movie.
But
But
it's done well.
it's done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's what I
very
like
cool.
about it. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's doing a couple things that are a little more unique in that the ghouls play a lot off of light and sound.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Like if they can't see people, they don't frenzy.
Yeah.
Which they figure out very quickly, which I was really impressed with, because I'm like, oh god, I don't want another one of these where all the humans are really fucking stupid. But they basically end up like you know, the zombies are rushing at the train door, and one of the women ends up figuring out like you can plaster newspaper with like water on the door, and they stopped frenzying.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure out how to open the door without just like bashing into it, and if they had no reason to bash into it, they just didn't.
Yeah, that's the thing that
it was really clever.
That I liked about the movie is it's just genuinely clever. Like it may have a bunch of tropes and stuff that we've seen before, but it's done very well, and the characters are intelligent and they're likable. And it's also, just really well done.
Also, they have one of my favorite staples of the horror movie genre with the ending, where you think it's gonna be it's kind of like the Get Out ending, where you expect doom because your main character is approaching something that would normally spell doom for them.
Yeah.
And then they end up like saving themselves, and essentially it's this moment of relief of like, oh, thank god, like at least somebody I was rooting for made it, because and the end of this movie is the train derails, the main character becomes a zombie and like, you know, flings himself off the train to save the Kendo, who died earlier, his pregnant wife, and his daughter, and the main character's daughter. So they both are marching down the tunnel to Busan, where they've been told there's safety, there's soldiers. And you see, they cut to the soldiers, and the soldiers are like, we have two figures approaching, and their commander's like, are they zombies? And they can't tell because it's completely pitch black. They just see silhouettes, and they're just like, we don't know. And the commander's just like, then fucking shoot them. And there's this brilliantly tense moment where you're just sitting there, and the soldiers are just kind of like lining up their shot, lining up the headshot on the pregnant non-zombie woman, and then they hear the little girl singing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's such a nice ending.
And it was set up too, because the whole thing was the little girl, she was supposed to go into like the talent competition, and she was going to practice singing, and because her dad was busy with work, she missed the competition, she choked up and couldn't sing. So it was like this nice little payoff of just it's singing.
Beautiful little button on a very like good but heartbreaking zombie story.
Yeah.
There's a great like backdrop of family drama throughout the entire movie. That you know, a father-daughter focus right up in front.
Yeah, which again is not uncommon for these, right? Like I think you know, plenty of disaster type movies have a family drama at the center.
And then you've got Korean action star Don Lee, who is the ultimate badass in this movie.
He is so fucking cool,
holding down the fort, protecting his pregnant wife.
He is such a goddamn badass in this fucking movie.
Oh, Don Lee is great.
He's so good.
He's predominantly been in Korean stuff so far, but people listening might know him from Eternals.
He was in Eternals.
He's one of the Eternals.
Yeah. I think he dies in the movie.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I have already forgotten what happened in Eternals, and I watched it like 2 weeks ago.
You can't kill Don Lee.
Yeah, I mean you shouldn't, but
he's Korean kendo. He'll be back.
Yeah,
there you go.
Just a different version of him.
I really dug the main character. I thought all of the performances in the movie were fantastic.
Yeah. I was really pleased with the
main character I recognized from Squid Game. He's the businessman who plays the game with the main character in Squid Game for the invitation.
I was very pleased with the CGI though, like the fact that it wasn't because I'm so sick of zombie CGI because it's always weightless and just cartoonish.
Yeah, World War Z, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very clear that the mobs here are mostly real people with a couple of figures CGI'd in to make it seem bigger.
Yeah, and even when it is just CGI, they still move realistically and have weight and
I mean,
all that
like
stuff.
The zombie deer at the very beginning, I think I commented on, where I was like, it looked really, really good up until like the last leg of its movement. That got into a bit uncanny for me, but it was I was just like, wow, that's really good CGI, and then I was like, oh, that's not as good, but And
the last thing I want to harp on just a tiny bit with this movie is, like I said, it's not doing anything new, but it's handling what's been pre-established very well, and that's something that I've grown to 180 on this a lot, and it's something that George Romero started. And people, I think, just need to kind of like let play out. And that's the idea that zombies just become a backdrop to focus on we're the real monsters.
Oh, yes.
And George Romero started that, and it's a great idea. It works in a lot of movies.
It is.
That like
I love the twist of I Am Legend. Like, I think that's a brilliant application of it, right?
Yeah, Matheson knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of like, oh, there's zombies outside, so we're going to be starved for resources and going stir crazy, which is going to make humans become the real antagonists. And Busan does do that, but it does it in a way that, I don't know, it still felt different.
Because the shitheel executive, he's less like I'm now a monster because of the zombies. It's more like I've always been this way. I'm a selfish dickhead.
I've always been an asshole. The zombie apocalypse is just giving me an outlet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is just an excuse for me to throw people under the bus, literally. Instead of figuratively. Yeah, like, so yeah, I definitely didn't mind it there. He's maybe a bit cartoonish in his villainy, but like, it's still like, yeah, I get it. I get where you're going with that. And they also, I think they touch on like the main character works for a company that might be responsible for the outbreak.
Yeah.
They handle the finances of the company that did it.
Yeah, so it's just like that. Like, literally, the main character gets a phone call at one point from one of his friends who's like stuck in a building downtown somewhere, being like, "Did we do this? Are we the bad guys?
Are we the bad guys?
Yeah.
Are we the baddies?"
And you're just kind of like, that's kind of a neat. It's a neat. I think it also helps that this is taking place in the direct aftermath of the outbreak, as opposed to a lot of zombie media, which is like, 5 years later or something like that, where you get like Walking Dead style, like, they're like, people are surviving now and they're the real, they're the real monsters, and you're just like, no, it's still and actually that reminds me of the you guys have seen the like people talking about like, oh, the best world building in games is the Left 4 Dead 2 like posters where people were shit posting on
oh god,
being like, maybe we're the real monsters, and then everyone writing below is like, no, it's the fucking zombies.
Yeah, it's
asshole.
the zombies, you tool.
Yeah. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I've always been a bigger fan of the outbreak stuff, like, the first week of shit going off the rails.
Me too. I really want a video game in like the direct aftermath of an outbreak.
Well, we have one. We were playing it, Resident Evil Outbreak.
Okay.
True.
The prologue to Last of Us.
Yes. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, if I could play in that opening section of, Joel and Sarah, I'm like, I want that as a whole game. Give me a whole ass game as that. As like you're just an average dude with your family trying to get out of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
As it's happening around
you. You're not trying to find an antidote.
Give me Greenland, the video game. Sorry, which I don't. Lee, have you seen that already?
No.
You did, right?
Okay. No, I have not.
Well, yeah. we'll
put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
Yep.
So yeah, Train to Busan. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yep, big thumbs ups from everybody.
And it's got a sequel, Peninsula. It is a different movie, but still set in the same universe and still very good. It's just different.
All right, so I'm gonna try my attempt at a really good transition here. Speaking of awesome kendo-like figures that James has a crush on, Warrior.
Oh,
I mean, look, who doesn't have a crush on Tom Hardy?
It's true. His kissable Princess Peach lips will haunt my nightmares.
I mean that, and he's a dog lover.
And my dreams.
He's a sweetheart. He's a goofball.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. He's all around. Yeah. He's all around great. Yeah, this is a movie that Lee and I saw years and years ago that we've been pestering Kat to watch for a while.
Yeah, like hilariously so. Like where they've just been like, "Oh, it's time." God, what were you guys saying? You kept being like, "It's time to do this."
It's time to listen to the Beethoven.
Yes, that's right. And I was just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Listening to the Beethoven, duh.
Listening to the Beethoven. So obviously, this is a movie that's very like they both absolutely adore this movie.
Yes.
I think it's a very, very good film. I'm really glad that they introduced me to it. But I will say I'm not a sports movie person, so I don't think it hit quite the same like level for me. Where it's like, okay, like I watched 1917, for instance. I liked 1917, but also I've seen Saving Private Ryan, so like.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, yeah, I've seen this genre before and it doesn't really like it's that genre. There's staples of it, and when I see that genre, I kind of know exactly what I'm going to get, and it delivered exactly what I expected from it.
Oh yeah.
Which was good performances, but nothing that happened in the movie that was just like, "Oh shit," like really made me think or made me feel something or made me like like I was like as soon as it was like, "Oh, they're well, okay, spoiler alert for this movie, too. As soon as it was, like, they're brothers, I was like, oh, nobody else in this fight matters. The final fight is going to be the two brothers.
Oh, yes.
But yeah. We still went through, like, an hour and a half of buildup of these other people that they're fighting in this tournament. So, also, one of you should explain what the movie's about first.
Yeah, James, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, sure. So we have, Tom Hardy, who is a war veteran, and he comes home to the Pittsburgh area, and he hooks up with his dad, who's played by Nick Nolte, and his
Nick
dad,
Nolte playing an alcoholic,
so not
on brand
too far
casting.
off. Yeah, who was like a very abusive alcoholic during their youth, and he was very much all about like trying to like make his sons, more specifically Tom Hardy, be like a competitive athlete. And Tom Hardy wants to kind of get back into like MMA and start training, and he's very angry and very antisocial, and you can tell he's very traumatized by something. And then you have on the opposite end of the spectrum the other brother, played by Joel Edgerton. He is a physics teacher, and he has two kids, one of which had a heart problem, so they're kind of strapped financially. And he, because of the fact that, he was kind of an athlete, starts dabbling in sort of low-rent bar MMA fights, the type of shit you'd see at like a strip club outside in the parking lot or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets fired from his teaching position because they're like, teachers can't be fucking fighting outside of strip clubs, god damn it. Which, yeah, sure, I get it.
I don't, but okay.
And he needs money because they're gonna lose the house, and there happens to be like not Elon Musk or not fucking Jeff Bezos putting up a MMA tournament that's gonna be hosted by not Joe Rogan, and the pot is $5 million, and both Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy separately decide to compete in this tournament, and they haven't spoken or seen each other in years, and there's this intense rift and animosity between them because of their troubled upbringing with Nick Nolte and whatnot. And it's as Kat was saying, it's traditional sports movie shit, but at least for me in particular, like the performance is really elevated, and
Absolutely.
Just the way that it's shot and the just certain little tweaks like really elevated it for me. I'm particularly a fan of underdog type stories, and they're both kind of underdog type characters. And just
I will say I was confused by the time period. I kept thinking it felt very early aughts or like late 90s, but then there were things that were happening that felt way more modern. Like going viral and certain things like that. But then all of the news stuff felt very like local news, and like I'm like, or not local, but like it felt very old school the way the news was delivered.
And
so
at least for me, one of the big things that really makes me love that movie is the final fight between the two brothers. Just the emotional moment between it, especially with Joel Edgerton's character, needing the money to keep his house. Tom Hardy's character wanting the money to give to his deceased friend's wife, who was killed by friendly fire in the Middle East. And he's gone AWOL, and basically he's gonna get fucking arrested after all this, and he's gonna be put on trial and whatnot. And
oh yeah, that was also a hilarious point where I was asking, like, why are they letting him do the fight? If
I wouldn't stop talking.
Why wouldn't they just?
They probably watched the parts of the tournament that were televised already and said, like, I'm not going to arrest him. Are you going to arrest him?
Yeah. And
there you go.
Specifically, like the final moments with the About Today montage after Joel Edgerton accidentally dislocates Tom Hardy's arm, and he's emotionally distraught by that, and the whole the brothers coming together sort of thing. Like Lee and I have quoted that final scene, "Tap Tommy," so many times on so many driveway beer nights. And also, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who plays the coach. I love that actor.
Frank Grillo.
Yeah, yes. Frank Grillo.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
very underrated actor. I like him.
He's incredibly underrated. He's been in some Marvel stuff, so like it's not like he's not getting work, but I feel like
he played Crossbones.
But I feel like he's always been kind of like Crossbones should have been a more impactful character than he was.
He really should have. They just wiped him out.
In the comics, he assassinates Captain America. Yeah.
He's guy. In the Marvel movies, he was kind of just a goon.
He's just there in like Winter Soldier, and then they immediately kill him off in like the next film he's in, and it's like that's a bummer. But he was in Purge Anarchy, and that's part of the reason why I like Purge Anarchy so fucking much. I don't like the first Purge because it's just a home invasion movie, but like Purge Anarchy, and this was before they announced Punisher with John Bernthal. But after I saw Purge Anarchy, I was like, dude, Frank Grillo would make a fucking great goddamn Punisher. Like
on that topic, Joel Edgerton is the person being eyed to be the new Wolverine.
I could see that.
I could see that.
That'd be great.
I could see that.
That'd be great. I like Joel Edgerton a lot too. Like for a while, I'd just known him as whatchamacallit, the dude from the Star Wars prequel trilogy. But like over the last
it was Owen Lars,
yeah over the last
that was him.
Yeah.
Wild.
Over the last like few years or whatnot, like between Warrior and then his directorial effort The Gift with Jason Bateman and a few other things, like I've grown to really appreciate him as an actor. He's also in the Thing prequel, and the less said about the Thing prequel, the better.
Yeah, it's just, one of the big strengths of this movie is just all around like stellar acting performances. I mean, shout out to Nick Nolte for getting the nod for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars that year, because he is so damn good in this movie as like the struggling addict who like knows he fucked up everything in his family and trying desperately to get it back together to make it work, and both of his sons just fucking hating his guts.
Yeah, they do.
And just the emotional arc of not just the brothers, but of their relationship with their father. It's soul crushing. It's great.
Yeah. And speaking of Academy Award nominees, or the last thing that we watched before we get to the hate train is Dead Again.
Perfect seg.
Yeah, which was it's a early '90s noir thriller with Kenneth Branagh and his then wife at the time, Emma Thompson, and Andy Garcia and Robin Williams. And it was an instance of me seeing something, and Kat and Lee had never seen it before, so it was kind of played into that little thing, and I was like, yeah, let's watch it, especially after I realized that the movie was apparently a huge fucking influence on a Dream Theater album.
Oh yeah, don't get me started. We'll talk about the movie first, and then I'll segue into that.
Yeah. So one of you guys wanna describe it?
Kat, why don't you take it? Because then I'm gonna go down my my rabbit hole.
Go down your rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Gosh, how? All right. Well, spoilers, because I'm probably just gonna spoil it. Immediately.
Like it's a tough one to describe without giving too much away.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically the start of the movie is it's essentially sort of a murder mystery about people's past lives with a twist. Because essentially you have Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh playing two characters who are like romantically interested in each other in two separate timelines. So Kenneth Branagh is this like composer who murders his pianist wife, Emma Thompson, in the 40s, right? 50s?
Yeah, 40s.
40s? Yeah. And then in like modern day, he's playing this like sort of like detective. And Emma Thompson is she's a psych ward patient that has no memory of who she was. She's completely mute when like he has to like take care of her. He like takes charge of her and is trying to get her to talk and find out her identity and get her home safe, and like in the process is falling in love with her. They end up going to a like psychotherapist who specializes in hypnosis. And he ends up revealing this tragic backstory of their possible shared past lives. But it turns out the twist is that Emma Thompson, who is playing the wife in both scenarios, Emma Thompson is not in present day, is not the wife in the 40s.
Yes.
It's Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
So it's essentially they were reincarnated as like
the other.
Yeah. So yeah, and that I think an absolutely brilliant twist. And then it turns out that the real murderer of the wife in the past was this young German boy who, surprise twist, turns out it's a psychotherapist.
Yes.
Who then once again tries to murder Kenneth Branagh because he murdered him in his previous life as old school Emma Thompson.
And then he's killed by a gigantic comically sized pair of scissors.
Yeah. There's a lot of scissor fighting in this movie.
Yeah, I was reading a bit of IMDb trivia about that scene last night, and one of the criticisms is that scene is so campy and over the top, and Kenneth Branagh's
over the top.
Kenneth Branagh's response was like, "Yeah, but it's just fun."
That is also true though. Like, yeah.
How dare you have fun?
Yeah, making movies isn't supposed to be fun.
Yeah, so like Kenneth Branagh's like, yeah, it's schlock, I don't care, but it's fun,
Thank you, Lee. No. I hope that rambling nonsense was a good enough explanation, because I was very engaged in the movie the whole time, but I will say that there was a lot going on in it, and I was like, I feel like I need another watch to like pick up all of the clues. It's just I really like Kenneth Branagh as a director. I haven't loved the Poirot movies he's done recently. I love the character Poirot. I just think there's something with those movies that misses for me. There's a lot that hits though, and that's why I like him as a director. Like I think his his eye for visuals, for, you know, for the storytelling in general, for the characters, for the buildup of the mystery. I think all of that is really good.
Oh yeah.
But there's some little thing that doesn't click, and maybe it's the backstory for the mustache.
There's that too. But yeah,
maybe it's that.
I've been a fan of Kenneth Branagh as a director for a good while now. Like, I haven't seen it yet, but he's the reason why I wanted to watch the live action Disney Cinderella movie, because he directed that, and it was like, I like him as a director, so it's like that would be cool. He even like I'm a Thor 1 apologist because I like his directing style, for example. But like, I love his adaptation of Hamlet. I still haven't seen Henry V, but like, most of his Shakespeare adaptations are top fucking notch, and I just really adore him as an actor too. And Emma Thompson as well. Like, she is a fantastic fucking actress. And just seeing both of them in these dual roles, it's my shit. I love it. I do love when actors get the chance to do dual roles and they manage to do it successfully.
So I had a very particularly strange experience watching this film, because once we got about 5 or 10 minutes in, I kind of knew how the rest of the movie was going to play out. And that is because, as James pointed out, to get our viewing started when we were first planning to watch it, was that this film is the inspiration for the story of my favorite album of all time, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory by the progressive metal band Dream Theater. The overall major beats of the story are kind of the same, including the album and the film having the exact same twist ending. So I kind of knew what was going on already just from listening to this album over 100 times.
Yep. Lee explained to us the plot of the album, and yeah, it weeds out a lot of the characters, but it is very much the same story.
Yeah, the short version is a young man named Nicholas is having memories that aren't his about the Roaring '20s, and he goes to a hypnotherapist who puts him under hypnosis and takes him on this journey into his past life, where he discovers that he's the reincarnation of a young girl named Victoria, who was involved in a love triangle with two brothers, Julian and Edward. And, you know, she is in a relationship with one but loves the other, and they're eloping in the night, and they're planning on betraying the brother, who happens to be a powerful senator, which is never a good idea. And during their final meeting in a park at night, when they're planning their escape, the senator brother finds them, kills them both in cold blood, and uses his pull as a senator to manipulate the press into making it seem like a murder-suicide. And the reveal at the end is, after Nicholas gets home from his last therapy session, the hypnotherapist breaks into his house and kills him, revealing that he is the reincarnation of the senator, whose hatred for Victoria is so powerful he had to kill her again in their next lives. And so, like, knowing the story of this record, and then watching this movie and just trying to push it onto the back burner and go like, okay, you know, let's try and absorb the movie the way it's trying to present itself to me, without reading too much into the parallel story that I know. But then as soon as I saw the hypnotherapist get on screen, I'm like, oh, there he is, you murdering bastard, you, and he's done absolutely nothing.
I do have to ask though, Lee, does the Dream Theater album also have a sex pervert who knows kung fu?
It does not have a sex pervert who knows kung fu. However, it is the album responsible for the most uncomfortable for many listeners moment, where there is a fantastic song on the record called "Home," which is one of the real landmarks of the record. which is where Victoria and Julian are deciding they can't resist their love anymore. They have to be together behind Edward's back. And they go into this great rhythm section with a sitar, and you're hearing all the sounds of Edward's problems, which are like he's gambling, he's an alcoholic, so you're hearing like clinking glasses, you're hearing the spin of the roulette wheel, and the whole time you can hear Victoria and Julian cheating on him in the background. So there's just like moaning sex sounds behind the rhythm, which is a frequently pointed to moment in Dream Theater history of like, oh yeah, don't you just hate when you're listening to your favorite record and Home comes on and your mom walks in the room?
Yeah.
So yes, even Scenes from a Memory has the sex pervert moment.
Beautiful.
But as far as pushing away from the musical references, shout out to a great supporting performance from the late Robin Williams.
Yeah, holy shit. He was so good in this.
He plays like a dejected psychotherapist. Yeah, who
he's like, yeah, I slept with some patients.
Yeah, he's like kind of a he's kind of a scumbag, and it's like, yeah, you lost your license.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's still Robin Williams, so he's still charming in that way of like, oh, I can't really hate you, but you're a total piece of shit.
Yeah, he steals almost every scene he's in. And one of the things I was, because I had mentioned to you before that Robin Williams was in it, but I guess like you guys forgot, and that's fine.
I totally forgot.
Because also, Robin Williams insisted not having his name in the opening credits. Because since at the time he was mostly known for comedy, he didn't want viewers to see his name and think,
good move.
Oh, this is going to be a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Good move.
Yeah, and he, like, in everything dramatic I've seen him in, he is so good. Like, he's just such a brilliant actor, like, all around, basically. Oh, man. R.I.P., dude.
Yeah, I'm like, he's one of the celebrity deaths that just immediately just gutted me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
So.
And on the subject of gutting, let's just fucking dissect Texas Chainsaw.
God damn it! All right. This is gonna be the meat of this podcast because we watched this movie and boy, do we have opinions.
It is a movie about cannibalism, Kat. So your thing about meat is very apt.
This movie makes me so fucking angry.
I genuinely, for days afterwards, I would text these guys being like, I'm still mad about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's not a rib out there, audience. Days after watching this movie, sometimes we would just occasionally say to each other, like, it popped into my head again today, and I'm angry. I'm just suddenly angry again because of this film.
Lou started watching it the other night, and she was messaging me while watching it. She was so mad.
Yeah. Yes.
This movie is so bad. I don't know if I hated it more than the previous reboot, the one from like 2011, 2013.
So let's get into that first.
Yeah.
Because I have not seen any other Texas Chainsaw movie other than the first one.
Oh boy, here we go. So there's the first one from 1974, I believe. And then
undisputed classic.
Classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there is Texas Chainsaw 2, which was made in the mid-80s. It's the only movie that Tobe Hooper came back for. And
it's quirky but good.
It's a very much plays up into the dark comedy one.
Oh no, never mind. I'm sorry. I remember there was a horror movie sequel where the studio mandated it and the director was like, I don't know what to do for a fucking sequel, so he got drunk and wrote a script, but that was Halloween 2, right?
Yes.
Okay.
John Carpenter could not come up with a suitable twist or suitable reason for everything, so he got drunk, and then that's how Laurie Strode became Michael Myers' sister.
That's great.
But yeah, so it Texas Chainsaw 2, it's not quite as beloved because it's weirder and quirkier and more dark comedy, but over the years it's very much developed a cult following and a lot of people respect it a lot more. Then there's Texas Chainsaw 3, which I remember seeing Younger and thinking it was fine, but apparently it's pretty reviled, I guess. I don't know why. I haven't seen it in years, so I can't remember. Then there's Texas Chainsaw 4, which kind of acts as maybe the first soft reboot, where it kind of ignores 2 and 3, although 3 doesn't really bring up 2 all that much either. So maybe 3 was also the first soft reboot of just direct sequel to the first film. Then, of course, there's the Jessica Biel remake, which also has R. Lee Ermey in it.
I just rewatched this movie yesterday.
He's so fucking good.
Fuck the rest of the movie. Okay, 2 things about the movie. Leatherface's design in that one is my favorite, and R. Lee Ermey steals the whole fucking movie.
He does.
Whole film.
And it's a solid enough remake. It's not the classic, but it's fine. It's fine. Then there's the prequel to the remake, which is fucking awful, but it still has R. Lee Ermey in it, so it's fine. Then there was the next reboot, which is a years later sequel to Texas Chainsaw 1. This came out like 2011, like I said, maybe, or maybe 2009. Texas Chainsaw 3D was what it was called. I fucking hated this movie when I saw it. Then there was a sequel, or a prequel to that reboot, and technically a prequel to Texas Chainsaw 1, with Stephen Dorff in it, called Leatherface. I didn't see that, but apparently it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then, now we're at the second reboot, because the film changed to another hand. And it's once again a years later sequel, and they decided, hey, what if we copy Halloween 2018?
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay.
Except for it was except for instead of centering the movie around the idea of the previous actor, the previous character and her life post Texas Chainsaw, and then her rising to the occasion to try to stop Leatherface. Yeah. Let's just make it really surface level and tacked on, and it's not even the original actress, because the original actress died like 5 years ago, and we make her really stupid, and we make every single character in the movie, except for the fucking gun-toting redneck, unlikable.
Yes.
We'll get there.
I have no idea who this, like, basically a lot of people have mentioned to me that, like, they were immediately turned off seeing the, like, it's a group of influencers. Basically just being like, either they're going to go, like, way over the top with this kind of, like, I don't, like, anti that culture thing, or it's, I don't know, it's just such a weird, like, who is this movie for?
Yeah, let me hit the broad strokes of the plot, and then we'll rip this shit apart. So yes, it's meant to be, at least my impression is that it's meant to be kind of a commentary on the Gen Z influencer heavy culture that we live in now.
So I guess maybe it's for the anti, like, the people, the counterculture people in Gen Z right now. The anti-TikTok people.
I don't know who this movie's for. This
movie's for nobody.
It's for fucking mouth breather.
It should be for nobody. Nobody should see this.
Nobody,
keep going, Lee.
You've got your core. You've got your core group of 4 victims who are, they're influencers. 2 of them got famous on YouTube for having a show where they're chefs, and they've amassed this big following on not Instagram / not Twitch.
Yeah, also on that note,
where did you get all of this from?
That much I actually did get from the film.
Yeah, that's from the film. Yeah, but only 2 of them are influencers. Is it
from the moment where they're scrolling through the phone?
Yes.
Yes, they're briefly talking about it there.
Yeah, they're online celebrity chefs.
But yeah, only 2 of them are influencers. One of them is the sister, and the other doesn't have a name.
Yeah, so our cast here is Melody, Lila, Dante, and Dante's partner.
Yep. Genuinely, the Netflix subtitles did not have a name for this woman.
And her name is never said in the game.
Identity.
There is
never said in the movie.
There's a blonde woman who is the girlfriend of one of the main characters, one of the celebrity chefs, and she is never once named, but she's like one of the first kills. She's the first kill of the group of influencers.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and literally Netflix whoever was subtitling it didn't get the script, and they were like, I don't know who this lady's name is. So they just wrote Dante's partner.
Wikipedia says her name is
dialogue.
Wikipedia says her name is Ruth, but for all I know, somebody could be lying.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm like Wikipedia could say whatever the fuck it wants.
Yeah, I don't care what IMDb or any shit says. Her name is Dante's partner.
Yeah.
So Melody, Dante, Lila, and Dante's
good job,
partner.
movie.
They roll into a small Texas ghost town, and they've used their influencer money and their wide-reaching network to purchase the town and auction off the properties on it to create this isolated little community it's going to be Gen Z paradise. They're all like, oh, we're going to have this little community free of crime, and there's going to be art galleries and like nice little places for brunch. And like they get there and they have a pearl clutching moment of seeing a Confederate flag hanging off of one of the buildings. Mm-hmm. This cast of characters are intentionally written and portrayed as like the stereotypical sensitive left that the right likes to make fun of.
And I think it's very much like set up as sort of like a, like left versus right in this almost like completely stereotypical way.
Yes.
Where the left people are these city people who are coming in to gentrify this poor area, and all the right people are these like, poor, hillbillies in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
With guns.
There's no tact in this. There's no tact.
No subtlety.
They are all characterizations of the broad generalizations that get made about these people.
Even the school shooting survivor.
Oh God, yeah. Which possibly I shouldn't expect subtlety from a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, but this is a very minor complaint in the grand scheme of complaints about this god awful film.
Yeah, and like there's all kinds of shots being made. Like there's a guy who's a local to the town. He's their contractor. His name's Richter. He's the best character of the film by a long fucking shot. And he's initially portrayed as like, he's meant to be one of like the assholes, giving the leads a hard time while they're getting their town settled in. And the dude is kind of the most on the level, like rational one of the entire group. They're like, oh, look at you walking around public with your gun, like you're big and strong with your tiny dick. And he's like, actually, we've got like invasive species in this area, and I need to stay armed to keep them under control. But like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is...
And like
the second... We're just going that direction with it.
Yeah, and the second he finds out that one of the characters is a school shooting survivor, he's much more apologetic and sincere and tries to relate to her and everything like that. And then the second he realizes that the influencers were responsible for a fucking old lady's death.
Okay, let's get into it. So they buy this fucking town. Mm-hmm. And they don't check all of their paperwork properly because they get there and there's still an old woman. She runs an orphanage and she's still living on the property because, fucking spoilers, she still owns it. And these people come into town and they drive her out of the orphanage by a sheriff. A sheriff pulls her out of the building. She suffers a heart attack.
In another kind of like ironic moment that I don't think was actually intentionally thought through as ironic, because it's like, okay, she's this old lady who's, arguably a racist because she's flying the Confederate flag. And like she is the type of person that you would think would call the cops on the black person who she's seeing in her neighborhood.
Yes.
But instead they are these like rich yuppie kids who call the cops on her and end up causing her death. Right?
Oh,
and I'm like it's done in such a way that I'm like, this feels so gross. Like it doesn't feel like oh, we're subverting, the whatever. It's like, this feels like you took something that happens tragically in real life and just like tried to comment on it in this really gross, messy way.
It's tactless.
Yeah,
like there was a moment that like, oh, one of those, oh, Lee wrote the movie things where like they get in there and they're sitting down with her and trying to explain like, hey, we bought the town, we own this property.
Mm-hmm.
And again, yeah, they're building up this thing of like, oh, she's flying the Confederate colors, she's the old racist woman. And the joke of like, oh, I'm not racist, I've got a black friend. And then she says the line, oh no, honey, I'm not like that. I love the Negroes. I raised kids like you. And I went, oh my fucking God, you did it.
Yeah.
Like you're actually just going for it.
Yeah. It's just like they're, it's so weird to me because they're not making, anyway, keep going with the
so
I'll complain later.
She suffers a heart attack as she's being escorted out of the property that she legally owns. Which enrages the last of her orphaned kids that she's been raising, of course, Leatherface. Who then, after her death, begins his killing spree. Takes her face as the main face of the movie.
Yeah. Pulls out a 50-year-old chainsaw from a fucking wall.
Yes, okay. Unearthed.
Yeah, let's fucking talk about that.
His chainsaw from the first film 40 years ago. Let me tell you how fucking gasoline works, okay?
Yep.
You don't get to put a fully fueled chainsaw behind a brick wall for 40 years and hammer the sumbitch out of the wall and have it work.
And
corrosion.
To partially the movie's credit, they do have it not start for a while, but then it just fucking works. And it works like miraculously where it can, stop a fucking bus with seemingly no effort
without
no
leaving
damage
damage to the bus. Yeah.
Like fucking hell.
then he kills the best character of the movie, the redneck.
Yep.
And then
Also,
and Sally.
another point in this movie's favor, really quick. It's only like 80 minutes long.
Yeah, it's
this
short.
is the longest 80 minutes of my fucking life.
It is as I said during the movie, it's a hard 80 minutes. It's like a smoked 3 packs a day for 40 years, 80 minutes.
Yeah.
But it is only 80 minutes. So we get into the killing stuff
real
right
quick.
Away. Yeah, real quick. And it's awful.
my gigantic issue is one that pops up a lot as these movies go on and the series drags on and they get remade and rebooted. And that's that with each incarnation of these characters, they get more and more supernatural. The original Leatherface is just a big, dumb butcher. He's a psycho and he's got a chainsaw. And there you go. And
he doesn't have Jason's strength.
Yeah, correct. And he's butchering people as if they were pigs, right? And that's the whole point of the movie.
And in this film, his first kill is grabbing the wrist of an officer, snapping their arm with one hand into a compound fracture, so their bone is jutting out of their arm, and then uses that to stab somebody in the neck.
He stabs the officer whose arm he
yes.
Which, okay, you know what? Inventive kill.
It's an inventive kill, but what the fuck?
That's something Jason would do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's taken this character that is supposed to be rooted in that scary form of reality of this kind of person could be out there.
Exactly. It's just going. It's just Jason. It's just Michael Myers. It's just
the first kill of the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is Leatherface hits a dude in the back of the head with a hammer. That's it.
Yeah, once. And the horrific shot of him having a spasm and his legs kicking.
Yeah.
And getting dragged behind the sliding door.
That is so much more effective than any of the over-the-top super graphic kills that happen in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to go back. So I made myself start suffering through this a second time, but I didn't finish.
I know you did. You have so much strength, Lee.
What I meant to do, and I forgot to do it, so my apologies to the audience. I meant to go back and keep a counter of every time Leatherface throws his chainsaw.
Oh my God.
Because I think that number is 4, which is more than you'd think and less than you'd hope.
Oh my God. Also, I would want you to keep track of the amount of times he appears in a place, silently. Like teleporting
with
in
a grumbling chainsaw.
Yeah, with a rumbling chainsaw. Where I'm like, okay, movie, I get that you're all hacks and you've seen a horror movie before and you think that this is how all slasher horror movies should work. But Jesus fucking Christ, think about your killer for a second. For a second. Can we just have like, okay, he's a big lumbering dude with a chainsaw. He's not sneaking up on anybody. Don't pull that fucking jump scare bullshit.
Let us know he's coming.
Yeah, like, have the anticipation of hearing the revving somewhere.
Heavy footsteps and the rumbling of a chainsaw and going like, oh shit, here he comes.
Yeah, like instead of having like, oh god, the killer's right behind you all of a sudden. That doesn't work for this type of killer, guys.
No, he's got
comical.
He's got teleportation powers. It's awful.
It's so bad.
How does he stop the bus?
All right, let's talk about the bus. Oh, it's the most memed and talked about scene in the film, so let's talk about the fucking bus.
It has a couple other moments in there where I'm like, who is this movie for? Because there is one character on the bus when he starts his massacre. Okay? One. No, actually, three technically, but because the sisters are in there too.
Well, then there's also all the people partying in the back of the bus.
They are not characters, James. The name who is what are any of these people named? What have any of these people done in the movie?
Sassy influencer with cell phone number 3.
Properties. And they pulled out their cell phones.
Any of these people? They're literally cannon fodder. Oh, I get it. I get that you want your movie to have gore and to have kills and whatever, but literally a bus full of nameless extras does not an engaging slasher movie make.
No, it doesn't.
And they're trying to do that ham-fisted commentary on like the social media age of, okay, they're all partying on the bus, they're getting turned up. And Leatherface gets on board, and he's got the chainsaw, and he's wearing an old lady's face on his fucking head. And everybody does a slow turn and brings out their cell phones and starts video recording him. And one of them says, if you try anything, you're canceled.
Mm-hmm.
You don't say that to a man covered in gore wielding a fucking chainsaw on somebody else's fucking face.
Some screenwriter thought that line was so funny, and some trailer editor thought that line was so good.
It was in the fucking trailer.
Jesus fucking Christ! Oh, this movie's getting me heated. Holy shit!
Yeah.
I
defended it at the time because I was like, you know what? Maybe that's just like one lighthearted bit of like, you know, like maybe they're maybe that guy holding the camera, maybe he's the jokester, maybe he's the goofball character. No. He's not. He's nobody. He says nothing in the movie except that one line.
Yeah, it's great.
He got paid scale for that line. God damn it.
All right. So who wants to talk about not Laurie Strode?
Oh.
I will.
Boy.
All right.
Let's talk about the worst misuse of a character in a long time.
All right. So the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's one character. Her name is Sally. Yeah. And Texas Chainsaw 2 briefly kind of ties into that, where Dennis Hopper's character is actually Sally's uncle, and he's like a Texas Ranger, and that's kind of why he's so adamant about hunting down the family for what they did to his nephew and traumatized his niece. Anyways, and they basically copy-pasted Laurie Strode's character, kind of, where she's now, like, older and wiser, allegedly, and has guns.
It's the copy my homework meme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
copy it word for word.
Yep.
Yeah, and
okay, but change it a little. Didn't change it.
Change it just a small bit. She's actually like a Texas Ranger or whatever, and then they sprinkle in a handful of scenes with her. And you keep forgetting that she's in the movie because she's so fucking unimportant to the goddamn movie.
She feels like all of her scenes feel like the scenes with Sean Bean in Silent Hill.
You know,
it's just like, and also another Silent Hill connection. The old lady is played by the woman who played what's her face?
Christabella.
Christabella.
Yeah. And here's the thing though, like, at least Sean Bean's scenes
Yeah, we're edited. We're like
provided expository dialogue and background to the town. Yeah, the film lost focus, but you still got information. This is it's literally just trailer footage, so we can go. Sally's here, and then
Sally's here,
when she gets.
She's, like, literally the pitch meeting for this character was just, hey, you know what they did with Laurie Strode in Halloween 2018?
Let's do that.
Yeah. And then she meets up with the main characters and she locks them in her car and is like, looks like you're the one he's chosen. It's like, how do you know that? You just got here.
God.
You just got here. These are just two people who happen to escape a fucking bloodbath on a bus that somehow stopped.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I want to go back to the bus real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I gotta go back to the bus real quick because another problem that I have with the bus is that we have never seen the inside of the bus before the massacre starts happening, right? So we have
we
have no context for, like, are they all trapped in there? Is there, like, some sort of, like, emergency exit somewhere? Is there something like can they open the windows? Can they do? Nothing has been established about this space whatsoever. So when the massacre starts happening and you see just people, like, flailing, like, literally it just keeps cutting to the real estate, or she's not real estate, the bank lady, right? It keeps cutting to her just like banging on the windows of the bus, and, like, you know, like the somewhat iconic looking shots of, like, bloody hands, like, you know, just, like, rubbing up against the window. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this would be so much more impactful if I actually knew, like, you know, like, there was no way out, like, the windows were all locked, all of this other stuff was locked down. It's just like, but, like, we have no context for this. So all of these characters look stupid as hell, especially when at the very fucking end of the scene, they get one of the windows open and she, like, crawls through only to get chainsawed in half. And I'm like, you could have done that 20 minutes ago when he first started chainsawing through people. Like, what the fuck are any of you thinking?
Yeah.
And then, like, the only people who think to do to go to the bathroom and hide are the two main characters who make it out. And you're just like, God. Sorry, I had to say that bit because I'm fine. Like, this is some very basic horror movie stuff, right? Where like okay, like, take Grave Encounters for example, right? We got a whole ass fucking tour of the asylum before they started shooting shit and stuff started going down, and we realized, oh God, they're trapped. There's no other way out because they literally established at the beginning we're locking all the doors, and when the doors are locked, you can't get out of them, right?
We here at the Gooncast would like to tell you how Grave Encounters did things better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We here at the Gooncast would like to tell you how fucking Halloween Kills did shit better, because we got a tour of the fucking Myers house with the cute gay couple before we got our Act 3.
We did. Before we got Act 3, yes. It's like if you're going to have a set piece where you're gonna, like, massacre a bunch of people and it's going to be like, you know, fucking rats trapped in a maze, show me the maze first.
Like, it's
fuck.
But anyways, Sally shows up, shoots at Leatherface and misses, and her shotgun that's supposed to be firing buckshot is, I guess, firing slugs, but, like, the babiest of slugs, because they don't they leave, like, rifle round holes, and then she gets chainsawed through the gut after not doing anything.
Now this isn't her first encounter with Leatherface. Let me tell you how not to do revenge. And it's, I was terrorized by this man 40 years ago. Yeah. He killed all of my friends.
Remember me?
I've lived my whole life waiting for this moment at vengeance. And she has a shotgun to the back of his head and pulls an Oberyn Martell. Say her name. Elia Martell, say her name. And Leatherface just gets up
and walks away.
And walks out of the room.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was so bad.
It was so bad.
And then then she finds the vigor of, oh wait, I was supposed to kill him, and gets murked. Gets fucking wrecked.
But still somehow manages to survive having her entire insides torn apart by a chainsaw. So she can give the main character
by a chainsaw.
and raised like 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah. When we were watching, we were genuinely like, if she shows up and immediately just gets bodied, like,
Oh
we
yeah,
would actually give this movie a ton of credit.
I was having a riot about that. Watch her just get bodied
fucking
immediately.
Hilarious. But like, no, instead they pull that kind of where they're like, oh yeah, he just basically one-shots her, but then she's still around and still able to like, take my shotgun.
She still
like,
gets the
I'll
noble
save
sacrifice
you, and,
moment.
yeah, like.
Yeah.
Like, as she's bleeding out from a gaping fucking, like, having her entire body, like...
And
God,
and again, all of this nostalgia bait falls flat, because again, it's not even the same actress, because the same actress is dead.
And that's kind of disrespectful to the memory of the actress.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They literally could have, like, rewritten this character to be a cousin of the other person, and
yes.
thrown in some like backstory of like oh,
make
you know,
her an actual character.
Yeah, as opposed to
like,
just
cool.
rely on the first film.
Member
berries.
Well, okay, it's member berries for the first film and also for Halloween 2018, because
yes.
you can't even say that this character establishes herself well as like a vengeance based, like, you know, or like a vengeance crazed sheriff. You know, who's been hunting this killer for all these years, because it's literally just they're just saying she has, right? Like, Laurie Strode in Halloween 2018, it was established how much her paranoia about Michael Myers coming back fucked up her life, fucked up her daughter's life, and how much that was still part of her like
her trauma,
you know, her psyche, her trauma, like she's not able to let this go. There's none of that in this.
Laurie Strode,
she just shows up and she's like, I need to kill him because he killed all my friends.
Laurie Strode in 2018 is a fully fleshed out character. This is closer to how Laurie Strode is handled in Halloween Kills, where
yes, absolutely,
where it's like, assuming you've seen the previous one, but the previous one came out a couple years ago, not 50 years ago.
Exactly.
Like, good fucking God. Anyway, she gets bodied, and then they go into the theater, and there's a giant hole with water in it, and
oh no,
they go swimming.
Oh no!
And then Leatherface does his best impression of Shamu, and then
it's so fucking funny,
and breaches,
and then
literally breaches like a whale.
And then even though he's on the ground when he grabs her leg, it then cuts and he's just standing up because
he's in the water when he grabs her leg.
Yeah, he's in the water when he grabs her leg, but now he's standing up. And
it's one of the most atrocious editing, and it gets worse as the film progresses. Like the editor was just like, I don't give a shit anymore. I think the editor just realized what they were doing, and they were just like, I'm out. I'm like, I'm done. I'm giving you my D-list stuff, right?
Yeah, and then the sisters team up and murk Leatherface, and they shoot him with a shotgun a bunch of times, and all that fun stuff, and they even chainsaw him, but apparently he's again Jason now, because spoilers, as they're about to leave, Leatherface pops up and kills the eldest sister.
Oh my God.
And it's a self-driving car, and they try to recreate the final shot of the first film with a self-driving car.
It's so stupid, and like she's literally hanging out of the fucking like what's it called, the sunroof. She's hanging out of the sunroof crying as the car goes like 15 miles per hour.
Yeah, away. As it goes on like cruising, just like, fucking autopilot.
Like, fuck off, movie. Like, I hate you so much.
Also, apparently the dude who edited this did the Hunger Games and Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Well,
I don't want to rag too much on anyone, but maybe this was his A-list stuff.
I still don't know.
No, okay, the Hunger Games are competently edited. I
Final Fantasy Spirits Within was competently edited from what I remember.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
This is him hitting his low.
Yeah, this is he gave up halfway through.
This
100%.
is
Nobody who's getting big budget work like that turns in a thing like this and is happy with it. I didn't want to do this anymore.
I'll give a little credit, because to my understanding, I believe this movie did half of it with one director and then half with another. They changed directors.
God, it's one of those.
Through.
Okay, yeah.
So he probably didn't have a lot to work with.
I blame the studio.
This is Dean Cundy.
Full blame on execs being like, hey, we got this property. How do we milk it? Oh, well, Halloween 2018 did really well. Let's just do that.
This is a case of like what happened with Dean Cundy, who was John Carpenter's cinematographer for like most of his early stuff, like Halloween, Escape from New York, etc. The Thing. And he also later went on to do like the cinematography for like some of the Back to the Future movies and Jurassic Park and Apollo 13. And then his recent effort was like Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler.
Oh,
this dude has 2 directing credits.
Yeah. I mean, it always is kind of there was a Reddit thread about this recently where it was like, who are the directors who have had the like the hugest gap in their like their highest high and their lowest low. And I think like David Fincher comes up where like he's brilliant, but he also did, a movie even he's not proud of. Alien 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, where like apparently he actually has a quote where he's just like somebody came up to him being like, that wasn't very good, and he was just like, I had to agree with them. And I was like, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah,
that's
the reason.
I was trying to make a snarky joke, but I realized it was very mean spirited.
Oh, it's fine.
But like, if you worked on this movie, like, congrats, you worked on a movie. That's really cool. I haven't worked on a movie, like, so, who am I to judge? I'm just an idiot on the internet saying a bunch of bullshit. But I hate this movie. Like, as a product, I hate it, right? Like, I'm judging it based on what it is, not, the efforts of the people involved.
I still think I hate Fear Street more.
I'm sure people gave their all. Oh, God.
Because it's 6 hours as opposed to 80 minutes.
I hate Fear Street way more, yeah. We were talking about this, and I think we said that the only, like, the second Fear Street might be marginally better.
Yes.
And like, elements, the first half of the third.
Yes, elements of the third, but like as a whole, Fear Street is awful, and it's 6 hours, and we suffered through all of that. But anyway, back to
piece
Texas
of shit.
Chainsaw.
Don't watch it. This movie actually makes me upset.
Yeah, like it genuinely, like it's not even like, and I'm normally somebody I love terrible bad movies, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's so bad. Go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. I build fucking like Grave Encounters 2 as a fun experience, right? Like I've watched my share of absolute trash.
I had you watch Axum.
And I watched Axum. I wouldn't even put this on as background noise. That's how much I hate it. That's how much I hate this movie.
Is fucking awful.
There's a like faux rape chainsaw bit that I'm like, who the fuck is that for? Who making that movie thought that was a fun shot to include? Like, fuck off. Fuck you. Like this is me no longer being mad at the product and actually being mad at somebody behind the scenes, because fuck you for doing that. Like, I'm sick of that bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
Fucking dreadful.
We could get into how angry this makes us. This is a very ragey Gooncast. But yeah.
Yeah, what a piece of shit. Let's stop talking about it.
Yeah. So
should we do a wrap up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd like to just kind of go over briefly other things that we've been up to, because individually we've also watched some movies, played some games, done some extra things. So who wants to go first?
Mine's the shortest because I've been dealing with the move and shit mostly.
Yeah.
So I'll just knock that out of the way first. Basically the only thing that I've had time to like properly digest, at least that pops into my head immediately, is, like I said earlier, I watched All of Us Are Dead, which is a zombie series on Netflix. Bunch of students holding down in a school against the zombie apocalypse, and I won't go into anything about it because I think there's a lot of things that it does that are fresh. It just takes a little time to get to them.
Okay. Do you recommend overall?
It needs to be shorter.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's a couple episodes too long.
Okay.
Again, there's some plot developments that happen partway through that I think just need to happen a little bit sooner. But overall, very competent series. I liked it. I'd say, yeah, if you're a zombie fan, I would recommend. It's just it's like 12 episodes, but they're like full length hour-long episodes. I think it could have been done in 9 or 10.
Okay.
But
yeah. When Will and I were watching we watched the first episode, and I remember thinking, wow, how is this not over yet? And it was like a full hour, and we were like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it runs a little long.
I can see that.
And then other than that, I've just been going on a rewatch of one of my all-time favorite series, Trailer Park Boys.
Hey, nice.
It's a Canadian comedy series about two ne'er-do-wells and their well-meaning friend living on a trailer park, getting into all sorts of unscrupulous activities like robbery and drugs, and it's a hilarious fucking series. Although it's if you're going to watch it, it ends at season 6. Netflix will tell you there are like 12 seasons. It lies to you. The 5 or 6 seasons and a movie are what was originally done in Canada, and it was meant to tie up the series. And then Netflix picked it up and wanted additional content.
It's like the Arrested Development season we don't talk about.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And you can tell when that stark change is happening, and just nope. And it actually ends on like a nice ending because that's where it was supposed to wrap up. So just ended at like season 6 or whatever it is.
Or kind of like every time.
Good rec.
Kind of like how every time Futurama get brought back, where it has like 98 endings now, and you can always feel.
They're bringing it back again?
Yeah, I'm not happy about it because we already had 98 previous endings. I don't want a 99th ending.
True.
Well,
that's true. That's true. There's always an episode where you're like, that's where they were canceled for the 6th time.
Yeah, they've had so many fucking endings at this point.
Yeah, I like Futurama though.
I like the first 4 seasons.
So, light catch up for me.
Yeah. So James and I have been playing Elden Ring.
Yep.
That's been basically the big thing recently, but before we talk about that a little bit.
I've been wondering why I haven't been playing Elden Ring.
Play it,
yeah,
coward.
Actually, yeah, you should. Well, okay, so we'll talk about that, but first I had 2 other games that I played or am still kind of playing that I wanted to mention and just give like a quick review of. One is I picked up Pokemon Arceus. Or Arceus, I guess. There is debate about how it's pronounced. Will tells me in Japanese it's closer to Arceus, so I've been pronouncing it that way.
That's what I've heard.
Everyone else I've talked to says Arceus, and I'm like, because in English that's what it looks like, and it's like, okay, well, I will say Arceus. Anyway, this is the game that like I wanted Pokemon to be for forever, and now I want them to make an actual game out of it. It's basically like it's finally got this. There's so much to it that's so charming. The open world aspect, the how you fill out the Pokedex, how you go around collecting creatures, seeing them in the open world, and I'm just like, this needs to just not look like a student Unreal project.
Yeah, I heard it looks like dog shit.
It looks terrible, and like it's literally it looks like it's 10 years old already.
Damn.
Yeah, which like I feel like they were. Parts of it feel like they were going for like that Breath of the Wild aesthetic, and then it's like half of the art team didn't get the memo and just did really realistic assets that were low res enough to work on Switch, and it doesn't work, right? Like it looks bad. It looks really awful. The story is really passable. You pass on the story rather.
I heard it's an isekai.
Yes, it's an isekai, and
oh my God. That's
yeah,
weird.
it has elements to it that I liked, but ultimately I was just kind of like, it's mostly just a checklist for like there's a bunch of side missions. You go do things for NPCs. It's a very bog standard open world type thing that's very basic, but I'm like, this is a fucking step in the right direction, Pokemon. Keep going. Right? Like, I'm like, there's something here. You can get something good out of this. Don't get lazy on us and just re-release this again take it a step further, take it another step further. Give me like a legit Pokemon open world like RPG.
Yeah, but Kat, as far as I can tell, they're
close.
being even lazier, and they're just doing Sword and Shield again for Scarlet
Yes.
and whatever.
Yeah, Scarlet does look like Sword and Shield again. I'm gonna wait till we see more of it, because it does kind of look like they're doing a little bit more open worldy stuff, and I'm hoping they do, but I don't have high hopes. So that's my review of Arceus. It's a promising start, and I hope they actually do something with it.
Yeah, I think Scarlet and Violet might be cool just setting wise, because they're doing it in not Spain.
Yes.
Which I think is a really cool
the setting location. Is the thing I'm really hooked on. I am like that meme of the guy sweating over the 2 buttons with whether I pick the grass cat or the fire starter.
Oh, grass cat's where it's at.
I don't, but my fire starters, I'm gonna have to wait till the 3rd evolution to decide, because if the grass cat turns into another fucking like wrestling tiger, I'm gonna fucking
no. Well, I'm a grass type apologist. Going back to Bulbasaur. No matter what it is, I pick the grass type as the starter.
See, I'm fire all the way. I love the fire types.
I'm pretty sure just by looking at the first form of that grass cat, I'm like, my brain is going, man, I hope this thing turns into like a big saber-toothed tiger or something.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
And everybody's like, oh no.
Wouldn't
that's
that be cool?
the furry bait waiting to happen.
No, that's the furry bait, because that's exactly what we thought with Litten. We were like, oh, a cute little fire kitten. It's gonna turn into this like awesome fire panther. And no.
No,
it did not.
I've always been a flip-flopper in regards to starters. Like the only perfect starters I would say for me, where I liked all 3 of them and it was initially tough, was the first one. Because like I love Squirtle, I love Charmander, I love Bulbasaur.
They're really good.
But after that, it's just whatever one I think
like
is
the 2nd generation.
2nd gen
for me. It's after that, it's just flip flopping to whatever I think is the most aesthetically pleasing, and I don't even remember most of the other starters I've had except for Totodile.
I ended up usually I don't pick grass. Usually I pick Totodile for well, actually I've played through the 2nd gen. Totodile's 2nd gen, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. So I picked him and Cyndaquil and the grass type actually.
Chikorita rules.
They're all awesome. Yeah. But I usually do fire. Sometimes I've done water. But very recently for Sun and Moon, I think. That was the one in Hawaii, right?
Sun and Moon was Hawaii, yeah.
I did Rowlet. I love Rowlet.
Hell yeah.
He's awesome. He's beautiful. I love him. Anyway, but that's Arceus. Then the second game that I've been playing.
Forget your political leanings. Which evolution do you choose?
Oh God. So moving on from Pokemon, because I'm sure we could talk much longer about Pokemon.
The answer is Sylveon.
yes, it is. I've also been playing Horizon Forbidden West. And it is very much more Horizon. So
looks gorgeous.
Oh my God, it is one of the prettiest games I've played this generation. And I will say, a lot of the characters look really, really good. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter commenting about like specifically the representation with how they actually like got, people of different sizes and face shapes and like, like all different races, and they're portraying them very accurately. And I'm like, this is really fucking good. like they actually look like, people have dimples and, like scars and freckles and gaps in their teeth, and like, it's really cool. But other than that, like, I think about halfway through the story. I've mostly been doing a lot of the open world stuff. It's very much scratching the open world itch for me, where it is really just a checklist of missions, but some of the lore tied to it is interesting enough that I'm like, yeah. And I think it does it in a better way than Horizon did originally. Also, there's been huge leaps in the animation for like specifically for the like the quest giver dialogue, Where like Horizon, it would just be like a talking fucking head, like you do with most open world games, where it's just like, yeah, we don't have the budget, we don't have the time to hand animate a million fucking quest givers, so we're not gonna. And they're not perfect here, but they're so much better. Like quest givers actually emoting and having unique animations when they're gesturing, and like I'm like, damn, good job guys. Like you stepped it up for the next game. That's what you like to see, right? This is like if Pokemon Arceus can do what Horizon Forbidden West did for Horizon for their next game, I'll be really happy.
Okay.
But yeah. So Elden Ring. James.
Try finger butthole.
God damn it. This is my first ever FromSoft game. I have experienced previous games in so much as I've watched other people play things, and you know, I've read up on some lore stuff. James has sent me like videos of like Bloodborne lore and you know, like Dark Souls lore and shit like that. And it's all very interesting, but I've very much bounced off the games because there is a vocal minority of fans that are very gatekeepy and very toxic. And frankly, I let them get to my head a little bit and kind of like, you know, I don't like those people. I don't like that style of anything. So I you know, I don't like beating my head against a wall until I can finally, you know, accomplish something. So just not gonna do that stuff. But since I started playing Elden Ring, it's been a lot of my friends are playing who are not Dark Souls people, who are having an insane amount of fun just like exploring and running around, and that's what I've been able to do. I also like feel like I've gotten better at the game as it comes. I also, you know, or as it happens, like yesterday I took on 2 bosses by myself after James left, and they were very easy, and I felt really accomplished doing that. And then I took on a boss that was really hard, and I did it, and I felt very accomplished doing that.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, like the people I know who are huge fans of the series, like James and like my friend Ethan, like every time I've kind of lamented being like, oh, I'm using magic though, and that's not like the real way to play. They've been like, yes, it is. Like you're doing great. Like
any way you survive is the real way to play these games.
Yeah.
If
they give you a spellcaster class, go for it.
If you want to do it the hard way, more power to you. If you want to do it the easy way, more power to you. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So long as you're having fun.
So take fucking notes. This community, specifically the toxic part of this community, be more like James. Be supportive so your community can grow and be better.
And also on that note, you know, to the other vocal minority that keeps screaming about how difficulty cannot be part of an artistic vision, go away and just play something else, please. Like there's thousands upon thousands of games that come out. You don't need to play every single one of them. If it's not your thing, you don't have to play it. Like I'm not interested in Horizon. I'm not gonna lament and whine about it constantly. I may partially make fun of like the extreme amount of dialogue in it, but that's just because that's a personal pet peeve of mine for every AAA game now. But,
I very much do fast forward through a lot of the dialogue because it is I will my biggest criticism of it is there's definitely too much quest dialogue where you're like, I don't need all this. Like let me keep going.
One of the big complaints that keeps popping up is like how the game will be the game won't change if they add an easy mode. It's like, yes, the game would fundamentally change because that's not the experience that Miyazaki wants you to and FromSoft wants you to have. Plus also there already is an easy mode with magic and co-op and whatnot. Like
I mean, yeah. I will say though, like I don't think magic is that easy.
It depends on the circumstance, it depends on the monster, it depends on the magic that you have. Because it's traditionally the easier way.
It is definitely easier than melee fighting. I will totally agree, and that's why I picked it up, because I'm like, I don't have the years and years of experience with like fighting games or anything like that where I know timing for moves. I'm not that good at it. I beat God of War on Give Me God of War mode once, with the Queen Valkyrie, and I'm like, never again. That was dope, and I did it, and I never need to fucking prove myself again.
Village of Shadows, yes.
Oh god. Oh god, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think it's any less legit that I did that with a fucking infinite whatever, because I still had to beat fucking Heisenberg with his bullshit with
and Chris on duty.
With no
But like there's like this bit that, because even before you got into FromSoft game or played Elden Ring, Cat, like I had mentioned like the Vadividya thing where he describes the narrative of Dark Souls, and then he describes the experience playing Dark Souls and how they mirror each other, creating this kind of ludonarrative harmony. And it's like, if that game had a traditional easy mode, then that artistic vision is gone, and that experience is gone. And it's like if From Software wants to make a game like this and they include difficulty selection, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with whatever they want to do, because it's what they their want vision. To do. Yeah.
I will say, and here's like where I lie on it. I don't think there should be an easy mode, because I think that the people who are complaining about that are conflating difficulty with accessibility. And I think that the people who are actually the people who are actually advocating for more accessibility in games are having their voices drowned out by those people, and I think that's a really bad thing, because I do think that while Elden Ring is a more accessible Dark Souls game, or FromSoft game, I think it could be more accessible still.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because there's definitely a lot of people who would play a game that's very challenging and hard, but can't because they don't have use of one arm, or they're blind, or they can't read things on the screen very well, or they have hearing difficulties, and there's not options for them.
They're slowly getting there. Like
they're getting there, but I'm saying that it's 2022 right now, right?
Japanese games are really behind on a lot of accessibility.
No, I know. And I will also say that, granted, that like my metric for it is definitely Sony games, which Sony has been actively pushing that for the past couple of years. Yeah. And we cannot expect every game to have the budget and the capability to add as much accessibility as The Last of Us Part 2 added. And we added so much because that was a big focal point of the game, right? And like that was a big focal point, like drive of everything. And I'm really grateful for it because it's starting to set the industry trend, but the key word there is starting. We are nowhere near any of that right now.
The one thing I can say, which is a major leap forward, and this kind of started with Sekiro, although, like, again, I don't necessarily consider Sekiro
dedicated
part
of
the Soulsborne thing. No, this is there's that too, but no, this is the first Souls-like that FromSoft has made where you can completely remap the controls. So, like, Kat, if you don't like the fact that you have to push R1 to attack, you can map that to one of the face buttons.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good then.
They are taking steps.
Okay, I'm very glad for that, but remaps are really good. Actually, Arceus did not have controller remap stuff, which was a big
Nintendo's huge
not
problem.
in its favor. Yes.
Nintendo has a lot of non-remap.
You'll play it our way.
Yes,
which means it's like Wii U tablet, fuck off.
Yeah, and also, it's like when things are mapped on the triggers and the like L3 R3 like push in the stick type inputs are some of the hardest for like accessibility purposes. That's one of the things, like if you have motor difficulties, that's usually where it crops up is trigger buttons and the buttons that aren't quite buttons.
I have trigger finger because of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like I have pain in my right index finger from having to hold down R1 for constant parkour and web slinging and whatnot.
And it does become a
It's
so definitely rough. Remaps are a very good step in the right direction. I think a lot of their UX is years and years behind.
Oh yeah.
The the industry standard, and like I don't think, to me, that's not down to artistic vision. I'm like, you couldn't make the text bigger. Yeah, like
sure.
Your artistic vision was I had to be like 3 inches from my 60-inch TV to read your stuff. I'm like,
there's a lot of like, even as a Soulsborne fan and apologist, there's been constant like stuff that they should do better on. Like the lock-on system is super finicky, and it has always been finicky. And I really wish that they'd fix it, especially it reminds me of the enemies.
Yes, it reminds me of the Ghost of Tsushima combat camera. I knew a lot of people, and I also had a lot of trouble sometimes wrestling with that camera.
The hitboxes take the piss. They still take the fucking piss. Where it's just enemy hitboxes can be fucked. Your hitbox can be fucked.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of room
especially
for
with faster enemies, when it's like, oh, you need lock on to just be able to hit a thing, and your lock on decides to just suddenly abort, and your camera just swings wildly, and you can't see the enemy anymore. You're like, cool, I'm dead. Thank you, FromSoft.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
My only real thoughts on like Elden Ring so far is from a mechanical standpoint. It's probably my favorite of their games.
Nice.
I barely cracked into this thing, and I say that even though I have 40 fucking hours into it, but most of that has been spent exploring the open world. I was apprehensive about the switch to an open world because I prefer Metroidvania like game design, and I'm sick of open worlds, but this is the first open world in God knows how long, maybe since Red Dead 2, where I just genuinely enjoy exploring. Narrative-wise, I mean, I'm into the weird, creepy, fucked up lore, but you know, I'm gonna see how much it resonates with me compared to my personal favorite, which is Demon Souls. And you know, I don't know where it'll rank, but so far I'm fucking digging it, and I adore it.
I've been having a lot of fun now, both playing solo and with people. Initially, when I first picked it up, I think you and I played, which I'm super grateful for, because I'm really glad I didn't have to like grind through a lot of stuff. But I also think possibly, and this is on me because I asked you to do this, but I think I sort of took something away from my own experience by doing that. I think maybe a big part of it would have been more enjoyable to me because once I actually was let loose by myself and had to kind of like figure stuff out alone, I started finding the fun of like, oh, I just got ganked by these enemies. I'm going to just go around them or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas, you know, specifically when we were playing, there was that moment where you and I got separated, and there was an NPC that raided me that I did not know how to fight. And I was like, just stuck, and I lost a bunch of souls, and I was like, oh, this sucks.
But you also had that high of beating Margit. That really satisfying high of beating Margit that session.
Yes. I mean, yeah, and yeah, we had a lot of really, really good moments. And so far it's only gotten better because I've realized that, like, you know, I'm like, it doesn't really matter if I'm not beating these bosses by myself. Like, if I really want to experience this again, I just make another character and go at it again. You know, like, whatever. But like, I'm enjoying just like goofing around with my friends and then being like, hey, there's this super challenging boss up ahead. I don't think I can do it by myself, and I don't want to struggle with it, so come help me. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for me, I'll go on.
I was just gonna say we should probably wrap this up because I feel like we could talk about this. Hours.
Yeah.
I'll probably wind up buying Elden Ring, and then I can add something to the conversation.
Yes. Well, we should just do once all of us are like further into it. Maybe we should just do a pod on it.
Oh.
That'd be cool.
As for me, the only other updates I can say is because of the Garmin Bozia wheel and a surprise gift from Natalie, I went through a little cute dating sim called Sucker for Love First Date.
Oh,
I highly recommend it if you're a fan of cosmic horror and wacky shenanigans.
The cosmic horror nudes.
Oh my god!
It's genuinely well written, and it's funny, and it tickles that cosmic horror appetite with a lot of cute, cheeky references. And then last thing is I've gotten into speedrunning Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I'm currently 6th place for any percent PC with Leon first.
Yeah, dude.
I've only been running it a month, and I have a lot of room for improvement, but I'm looking forward to diving more into it.
I'm so like insanely impressed. And I know now Natalie has been thinking about learning the speedrun for Sifu.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so happy for both of you that you found like, you know, a cool little niche to just like succeed in and do cool dope shit in the game space. I'm like, yeah, those are my friends being awesome.
It's been a lot of fun.
I have bragged about you several times that you're 6th place. Yeah.
I kind of started when I decided to arbitrarily just run through the game for fun on PC, just to see how fast I could do it. And then I realized, you know, after that run, that if I was recording and if I wasn't using mods, I would have been 11th place. So I decided to pivot and change my plans for that night to speed running that game to get an actual attempt in. And that actually wound up being like 9th place. So like my first attempt, my first submission, I was already top 10
and you
for the
cracked
category.
top 10.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, I was down to 6th. There's a lot of room for improvement. The skips are fucking hard. But hypothetically, I can maybe get into the top 5, maybe top 3 if I really keep at it and I get lucky.
Yeah, give it a couple months, you'll be number 1, and then give it a year, and you'll own Capcom.
There you go. There you go. I believe in it.
Then I can maybe get Dino Crisis remade.
There you go.
Give me fucking Dino Crisis. God damn it.
Shall we wrap then for the day?
Evil dies tonight.
evil rolls tonight.
Hey, Leatherfuck.
Oh God. Oh God.
You know, quickly cycling back to, because that's like the worst line of Texas Chainsaw. So for the previous reboot, like the main character gets a letter and she inherited some place, so she and her friends go down there to check it out, and you know, Leatherface terrorizes them, and the twist is that she's like a long lost cousin of the Sawyer family or whatever, and the actual antagonists are this corrupt sheriff department, and it has a line where after Leatherface realizes that she's his cousin, and she realizes that Leatherface is her cousin, that she's kind of on board with him, and like she goes, "Get him, cuz," to the fucking sheriffs, and it's like, all your friends were just graphically murdered. Fuck off. This movie's terrible. God. But I don't remember. I can't recall if this is worse than the new one. But I just wanted to. The second you said Leatherfuck,
you wanted to bring that back up.
Get him, cuz came back into my head. So since I have this horror,
now we do.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Jam.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I am Cat, aka the Attack Cat on Twitch. I have been streaming for fundraising for relief efforts in Ukraine all this week.
Yeah.
I will probably do more of that later. I've been kind of like raffling off games, and I kind of love doing this. So I think I wanna try to do more of that in the future. So catch me on Twitch, the Attack Cat.
Hell yeah. And once again, this was your boy Lee Alder, the Valley Jester. My stream's going to be kicking back up now that I'm situated in the new place. Just got to get a few things with my surroundings and like camera figured out. But yeah, we'll be back to it at twitch.tv/Valley Jester, which is ironic because as of now, I don't live in the Valley anymore. So I am a charlatan.
You're a fucking fraud.
Oh my God.
The real hack fraud was the Lee we made along the way.
That's right.
The Lee moved along the way.
And yeah, once I kick back up, I think since I'm in the new location and everything, we were in the middle of doing Kingdom Hearts 3, but something's telling me that like with the new surroundings and everything, I should just start something fresh. So we might do FF7 Remake, or if I decide to join in on this Elden Ring bandwagon, we'll see what's going on with that.
James and I will power level you through.
Oh,
Jesus.
He doesn't have a PS4. He's gonna do it on PC.
No!
And there's no crossplay.
No! That's another thing I really want. I want crossplay.
Yeah, I want
friends
crossplay
who don't have
as
PS5s. Yeah.
There is cross-gen, so like people with
There's
PS4
cross-gen at least.
can play.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Will has thought about picking it up, and he hasn't gotten a PS5 yet, so he might play on PS4 with us.
Hypothetically, he doesn't need to pick it up because you bought it digitally.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you have both the PS4 and PS5 version. Install it on your PS4, and then have him play on the PS4. You don't have to shell out another $60.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, whatever, nerds. I'm gonna go play the Bloodborne remake.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
this is James, also known as Saber0307. I'm a hack fraud, and I stream and I speedrun now, apparently.
Yeah.
And Evil Rolls tonight. Everybody get fucked.
Goodbye, everybody.
So angry.
I fuck Texas Chainsaw.
GG, guys.
God, fuck that movie. I thought I'd feel a sense of like catharsis getting that all like off my mind, and nope. Still livid.
It brought back the memories, and I'm like, ugh.
Still fucking livid.